When the echoes of battle faded, we drifted in silence above the shattered moon. The void around us glimmered with the remains of alien warships, their twisted metal reflecting the dying light of a red star. For a long moment, none of us spoke. Then Mira's voice broke the quiet. "They'll send more," she said softly. "They always do," I nodded. "Let them. The galaxy has forgotten who we are. It's time they remembered." We gathered the survivors in the central hangar. Dozens of newly awakened humans stood among humming machines, their faces pale, but their eyes fierce with purpose. "We can't stay hidden anymore," Mira said, her voice carrying through the room. "The universe believes humanity died with Earth. That lie ends today." Her words lit something inside us, a spark that had been buried beneath centuries of silence. The engineers began repairing old ships, scavenging parts from the alien wrecks. The scientists restored databases filled with long-lost Terran technology. Within weeks, the Genesis moon was no longer a tomb. It was a forge. I spent my nights walking its corridors, listening to the hum of reawakened power. The murals on the walls depicted Earth's history, the rise of civilization, the reach for the stars, the final fire that consumed it all. I traced my fingers along the etched faces of explorers and soldiers, and I realized something profound. Humanity hadn't vanished. We had merely paused, waiting for the universe to forget, so that we could remind it anew. The transmissions came soon after. Across the stars, alien networks buzzed with panic. Reports spread like wildfire. An ancient Terran signal had reactivated. Outposts vanished in the grave belt. A Threx fleet destroyed by ghost ships. Some said the humans had returned. Others said it was a myth, a weapon, a trick. The galaxy didn't believe in humans anymore. We were bedtime monsters. Legends whispered to frighten alien children. "Behave, or the Terrans will find you." Now those bedtime stories were waking up. The first to reach out weren't warriors, but scholars. The Kalari, a race of crystalline thinkers, sent a drone bearing a message. It arrived damaged, but intact enough to translate. "If you are truly human, we seek dialogue. We have preserved your artifacts. We remember the songs of Earth." Mira and I exchanged a look. This was our chance. A first contact, not born of fear, but of curiosity. We traveled to Kalari space aboard the Horizon, escorted by a handful of restored Terran vessels. The Kalari world was breathtaking, a planet of crystal valleys and shimmering light. Its surface, alive with refracted rainbows. As we landed, thousands of beings gathered, their faceted bodies gleaming in the starlight. One stepped forward, taller than the rest. "We feared the myths," it said in a voice like chimes. "But seeing you now, the fear feels smaller than the wonder." I smiled. "We were human before we were myths," I said. "And we've come to learn, not conquer." The Kalari offered us archives, records of human explorers who had once traded knowledge with them, centuries ago. In return, we shared what fragments of Terran science we had revived. It was the first bridge rebuilt across a sea of time. But peace never lasts long when old ghosts walk again. The Threx Council, humiliated by their defeat, declared humanity an anomaly to be erased. Their fleets spread across the outer sectors, burning any world that dared to aid us. Their broadcasts filled the void. The ghosts of Earth bring only ruin. Those who harbor them will share their fate. The galaxy trembled, but some races began to resist. The Kalari declared neutrality, refusing Threx demands. The Van Collective, a hive of insectoid engineers, secretly supplied us with fuel and alloys. Even the nomadic Valor clans sent messages of support, calling humanity the old fire that once taught them freedom. Word by word, system by system, the myth of humanity transformed into a movement. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was at play. The Threx's obsession with erasing us seemed almost desperate, as if they feared something deeper than our weapons, something they hadn't told anyone. That answer came from the stars themselves. Weeks later, Mira called me to the observation dome. "You need to see this," she said, pointing to the holographic display. A strange anomaly pulsed in deep space, beyond any known star charts. The signal we'd followed to the Genesis moon. It was transmitting again, but this time in reverse. "It's not just calling us," she said. "It's calling something else." We traced the signal's path to a region known as the Veil Rift, a vast tear in space-time surrounded by gravitational storms. Ancient Terran probes had once attempted to study it, but none had returned. What if the Threx are afraid of what's inside? I wondered aloud. Mira's expression darkened. Then, maybe that's where the truth is hiding. We gathered a small team and set course for the Veil. The journey was perilous. Navigation systems flickered, and reality itself seemed to twist. I recorded my logs daily, unsure if they'd ever be heard. Space was different here, alive, watching. When we finally breached the edge, the stars vanished. A vast silhouette loomed ahead. Impossibly large, impossibly old. A structure, dormant and silent, embedded in the heart of the rift. It wasn't alien. The markings across its hull were Terran, ancient, predating even the Genesis initiative. "This can't be right," Mira whispered. "We never built anything this massive." The ship was longer than a continent, its hull scarred yet intact. As we approached, our sensors picked up faint power readings, pulsing like a heartbeat. I recognized the pattern immediately. It was the same signal I'd heard weeks ago. "It's calling us home," I said. We docked with the structure and entered through a breach in its outer hull. Inside, the corridors stretched endlessly, lined with dormant machinery and holographic inscriptions. The air felt heavy, thick with history. We found an ancient command core at its center, a glowing sphere surrounded by floating data shards. Mira activated a terminal, and the chamber filled with holograms. A human figure appeared, translucent and flickering. A man in a weathered uniform. "This is Commander Elias Thorne," the hologram said. "If you are hearing this, humanity has survived its fall. Good. Then the cycle begins again." The words sent chills down my spine. Thorne explained everything, how the Terrans, in their final years, had uncovered a truth too vast for the galaxy to accept. The Thrax weren't our conquerors. They were our creations. They had been bioengineered centuries ago as weapons, adaptive soldiers designed to defend the last Terran colonies. But they evolved, rebelled, and turned on their makers. When Earth fell, the Thrax erased all records of their origin and built their empire upon the ruins of our own. They feared us not because of what we are. Thorne's echo said, "They feared us because we are their gods." The message ended. Mira stood in silence, trembling. "All this time," she whispered, "they tried to destroy the memory of us, because our existence proves what they are." We uploaded the data and transmitted it across the network. Within days, it spread like wildfire. Worlds under Threx rule began to question their masters. Rebellions erupted on dozens of planets. The myth of humanity became a symbol of rebellion, of freedom, truth, and defiance. The Threx retaliated with everything they had. Their fleets converged on the Veil Rift, determined to erase both us and the ancient ship. But this time, we weren't alone. Kalari vessels shimmered into orbit, joined by Varn hive ships and Valar raiders. Even fractured worlds, united under one banner. The banner of the species that refused extinction. The final battle for the truth of the galaxy began. The Veil Rift boiled with light and fury. I commanded the horizon, weaving through firestorms of plasma. Mira coordinated the Allied fleet from the Terran dreadnought we'd awakened. A ship older than any empire, its cannons shaking the void. The Threx came in waves, their rage echoing across the comms. "You are not gods," they screamed. "You are ghosts," I smiled grimly. "Ghosts have teeth." The ancient dreadnought unleashed a beam of pure energy, slicing through enemy formations. Kellery crystal ships refracted starlight into deadly lances, while Van drones swarmed the Threx carriers. For every ship we lost, 3 more Threx vessels fell. The myth had become real, and reality was far deadlier than any legend. When the final Threx flagship broke apart, the rift pulsed violently. The Terran ship's systems began to fail. Thorn's voice returned, faint and fading. "The cycle ends here. Keep the light alive. Humanity endures." The structure collapsed inward, sealing the rift with a burst of white energy that lit the galaxy like dawn. When the light faded, the Threx empire was broken. The galaxy stood in stunned silence, and across its countless worlds, one phrase spread like wildfire: "The humans have returned." Months later, I stood again at Haven 9, watching children chase one another under the new sky. The colony had grown. Ships from half a dozen species floated above, trading, rebuilding, learning together. Mira approached, her expression soft but thoughtful. "Do you think they'll ever stop fearing us?" she asked. "Maybe not," I said with a small smile, "but maybe that's not a bad thing. Fear reminds them of what happens when you try to erase the truth." She laughed quietly. "And what happens now?" "Now," I said, gazing up at the stars. "We make sure no one ever forgets again." Because humanity was no longer the myth aliens feared. We had become the story that bound the galaxy together, the reminder that even in extinction, the human spirit doesn't die. It waits, it endures, it rises again. And this time, we were not just survivors. We were the architects of a new dawn.